Good morning, everyone. My name is Glenn Howard. I'm president of the Saratoga Foundation, and today we're doing this event on rare earth and critical minerals. The timing could not be more perfect, and we're just delighted that we're doing this in cooperation with the Heritage Foundation and James Carafano, who is, unfortunately today is ill and won't be joining us. So I'll be kind of handling this solo and doing this event. It's certainly become one in the news with all the drama that's gone around the recent Ukrainian mineral deal agreement with the United States. So we're quite excited about it. But the basic purpose of the event today was to draw attention to the idea and the notion of what are critical minerals and rare earth deposits in various portions of Eastern Europe and including Ukraine. So this is the idea, is to kind of educate people about what we're doing, about what the strategic importance of these minerals, and then kind of go from there and kind of assess the situation. Each person will get about 5 minutes to talk about the issue, and it's certainly interesting one because of all the media attention that's been given to the issue. But there's very little known about it. In fact, most people just kind of um, they they are not aware of the fact of what the critical earth, what's the difference between critical earth and rare minerals. Because Ukraine has critical minerals and rare earths, and so do various countries. So that's a very important distinction. But in the discussion, it's kind of been labeled as rare earth altogether. So that's kind of the usefulness of this discussion today. Is just to kind of go over that issue. We're not going to solve anything, but we'll certainly educate people about why it is important. So on that note, I'll begin by turning the floor over to our first speaker from Ukraine. Is Elena Lesnik? Is Elena here? Okay, she's not. Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Elena. Apparently, Vyacheslav is cutting out on us. So go ahead if you want to take and describe this.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Glenn. So if you allow, I'll give the brief introduction of Velta because we're private, we are not state. So I'll tell you what we are doing in the field of the critical raw materials, what are our projects, and after that, maybe I can embrace a little bit on the Ukrainian potential in the field of critical minerals, which embrace together non-ferrous metals and rare earth metals. And I think it's important to make the distinction between all of them. So let me start. My name is Olena Lesniak, and I'm Deputy CEO of Velta Company. And Velta is a private Ukrainian company which is involved into the mining of such critical raw material as titanium feedstock for already more than 13 years. We've been into this industry since 2007, when we first obtained our geological investigation license for the deposit which we are developing at the moment. Actually, Velta is the only critical raw material mining company in Ukraine that built a fully productional mining and separation complex from scratch by itself. So we did not privatize anything, nobody gifted us anything. Velta team has created our production and operational unit all by itself. We know all the way how the mineral business could be established here in this country, starting from licensing, going through the geological investigation, resource estimation. Actually, Velta is the only one critical material company here in Ukraine who has resource estimation under the international JORC code. We've done that back in 2012, first time, and we are doing it right now for our second deposit as well. We know how to do the feasibility study, how to get the environmental approvals, construction, and also how to operate the mining business here, which we have been doing for more than 13 years currently. At the moment, we hold about 1.5% of the global titanium feedstock market, supplying our material to Europe and American customers. in America, we have the biggest customer in the chemical titanium feedstock demand, who are the world leaders and who are covering up to 10 needs in titanium feedstock from Delta for over than 10 years. So this is about our expertise in the industry. And this is about the chemical story of titanium feedstock, because titanium feedstock is used both in chemical production of white pigment, titanium dioxide, and also is used for the metal production, titanium metal. And that's part of the story is much more interesting and much more important when we say the word critical. Because as you probably know, right now, only 7 countries in the world possess the technology of production of titanium metal. And when we speak about titanium metal, we all understand that the industries that critically need this material are defense, aerospace, a little bit more in medicine. So without titanium, the rockets can fly, the missiles can fly, airplanes would not exist, and tanks, helicopters, all these defense industry production needs titanium. At the moment, out of the 7 countries that possess the technology, only 4 countries are in production. These are Russia, China, Kazakhstan, and Japan. And Russia and China together hold up to 80% of the world global production of titanium metal. And this is actually the reason why, after the war started, Boeing, US producer of aircraft, was able to get away of supply of Russian titanium, while Airbus, the European producer, was not able to do that. And they objected the sanctions, which were planned to be imposed into the Russian producer of titanium metal, because of the reason that they can't live without Russian titanium these days. In such critical dependence, probably in the current geopolitical situation, should not be acceptable. And not only in titanium, but maybe in other rare earths and non-ferrous metals and other critical materials as well. So speaking about Valta, back in 2017, our team of researchers, we established the R&D center, and we invented the innovative technology of production of titanium metal powder, which differs from the current that exists, because the current technology is energy intensive, extremely complicated, environmentally harmful, and very cost inefficient. The technology which Valta is providing and patented both in Ukraine and in the United States proposes the alternative, which is much more cost and energy efficient, is faster, is cheaper, and is much more environmentally friendly with no waste concept. And this is the project which we are right now implementing in the United States, because we believe that onshoring of production of titanium metal inside of the United States will, of course, it will not solve the problem of dependence on Russia and China, but it will provide some optional solution for.
Elena, let me interfere. Our audience may not know that Ukraine was a major provider of titanium to Boeing. And can you just explain a little bit so they know that they were providing that to Russia, which before the war they were then selling to the United States? Just give them some background on that.
Yeah, actually, you are right. Thank you very much. So before the war, one of the countries which possessed the technology of production of titanium metal was Ukraine. And the plant is situated in Zaporizhia, which is now heavily under the attacks of Russia, and the plant is not into operation. And Ukraine was supplying material to Boeing, but also Russia was supplying a lot to Boeing. They had even joint venture in Russia. And actually, the background is that Ukraine can replace part of the capacities and part of the production if the plant in Zaporizhia will start into operation again. But what Valta is proposing, we are proposing an alternative, actually. the new method of production of titanium powder, which you can use in the additive manufacturing, and with help of that to ensure the production of finished parts for the defense sector and for the aerospace sector, and also for the medical sector actually as well.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, the project is moving slow at the moment because the development stage was planned to be financed out of the current cash flow. Because of the war, our logistic costs increased 3-4 times, energy costs increased 2.5 times, and the energy restrictions and limits, which we are facing almost every day right now because of the Russian attacks, rockets, missiles attacks, it all prevents us from and makes almost impossible to invest into the project in the US. We are moving in very slow steps right now. But we have another project here in Ukraine, which corresponds very well to this new direction of relations between the United States and Ukraine. We have another license for the deposit, which is situated 5 kilometers away. And this one is actually contains not only titanium feedstock, but also could produce zirconium, zirconium oxide, zirconium metal, and hafnium metal. The critical materials diversified portfolio, which is important not only for the defense and aerospace, but also for the nuclear and energy sectors. So this is what we are doing at the moment. And here it could be easier to finance thanks to the assistance and support of the DFC, EBRD, and IFC funds, who are in the current discussion with Velta about this project and express great interest to financing. We also are in discussion with several private equity partners. And we believe this project would be launched within the next year, year and a half, and diversify the production of critical raw materials coming out of Ukraine and coming out from Velta. So this is speaking about our company.
And right now, your company's involved in a venture in North Carolina. Is that right? On titanium.
Yes, that's what I was saying. This is the project under the development at the moment. So we are not in production yet. This is the development stage.
But there are titanium areas inside of Ukraine that you not, is it just in Zaporozhye or are there other areas where there's existing production?
Only in Zaporozhye, and now it is not in production.
Okay. And what about the rare earth element? Can you talk a little bit about that? What does Ukraine have?
I can probably say that the topic is wider as far as I understand, because we all saw the resolutions passed by European Union, by China, by US about the critical raw materials. And out of these critical raw materials, some part is rare earth and the other part is non-ferrous metals. So speaking about the potential of Ukraine, of course, not everything is here, but there are quite interesting deposits which contain germanium. So there is an option to produce germanium and gallium, which are rare earths, beryllium as well, graphite, copper, bauxite. Also, these are critical raw materials, and you can use it to produce aluminum. There are also very interesting deposits of kaolites, for example, out of which, with the existing new technologies, you can also produce aluminum. So the potential is there. Some interesting deposits is there. So it would be great if Ukraine would be able to get access to that as soonest and get the development and provide some alternative sources of these materials, which now, for example, germanium. You know that in December, China banned exports of germanium from China into the US.
And let me stop you right there. What is germanium? Why is it important? What type of metal? Why is it strategically important?
I would not give you the detailed information on that. everybody can Google that, but that's energy and nuclear sector.
I know that beryllium is used in space satellites. It's a very critical mineral that's used in space production. So I know that it has that additional element, but I'm not a rare earth expert. I just pretend to be one. So
Yeah, we're also not actually the rare earth experts. We are just going into the direction of what we know and what we are mining. Zirconium, hafnium, this is the part of our future production. Here we have more knowledge, all the rest.
I understand. Okay. Vyacheslav, do you have anything to comment, or are you just going to?
Thank you. Have a small technical problem. The economic vision is to integrate into value chains, localize production in Ukraine where possible. I am an economist. Let the political expert talk about your politics.
Okay. So you don't have any comments or opinion about what Elena said? Okay. All right. We'll move on then. Vuk. Oh, says yeah. There's Yulia Klemenko. Thank you for joining, Yulia. Hi, Vuk. I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you. And let's we'll come back to some questions and answers at the end. And we're still waiting on another panelist to join us from Romania. But our next speaker is Vuk Velebit. He is the co-founder and executive director of the Pupin Initiative. It's a leading organization dedicated to strengthening U.S.-Serbian relations and has several policy initiatives. And Vuk was previously an Eric Schmidt fellow under the former CEO of Google, and he gained extensive experience working in that job promoting Serbian startups in the U.S. market. So Vuk, go ahead and introduce us to what rare earth and critical minerals exist in Serbia.
Thank you so much, Glenn, and good morning from DC. I'm spending some time here. So I will give you very briefly just the context that you understand what is the most important rare earth mineral, or what we in Europe call it critical raw materials, and then why this is important in terms of geopolitical context and battle that is going on in Serbia. So I will try to give you more political background. So Serbia has one of the largest lithium deposits. I'm sure that all of you know how important lithium is for production of lithium batteries used for electrical vehicles, but also for renewables. For last 20 years, Rio Tinto, which is Anglo-Australian company, has been conducting research in Serbia, and they found that Serbia has top three largest lithium deposits in Europe, meaning that there are over 100 million tons of lithium deposits. When we put that on annual basis, it means that Serbia can deliver 58,000 tons of lithium, which is enough for production of over 1 million electrical vehicles per year. So those lithium deposits are enormous. But what is important to understand is Serbia's geopolitical position and how that reflects to Serbia's relations with the United States, with the European Union, but also with Russia and China. China has been present in Serbia for last decade or last 2 decades, and has been trying to get involved in mining. So Chinese company Zijin Mining is present in Serbia, and they do copper mining, but they extract all that copper to China. So we don't have any value chain built around copper in Serbia. but with lithium is much different situation. So as I mentioned, Western company has been involved in lithium project, and we expect that lithium extraction will start in next 2 years. There have been huge protests against the lithium project in Serbia. Part of that was result of environmental concerns. But I have to say that part of that has been a result of the great misinformation and propaganda spread by pro-Russian oriented groups and some proxies in Serbia who would like to stop lithium project because Serbia has decided last year to sign a strategic agreement with European Union and with Germany regarding the lithium, meaning that Serbia would not allow Chinese or any other Eastern company to do lithium extraction in Serbia or to get involved in any part of process. So we have a strong geopolitical battle regarding lithium in Serbia. Serbia is not member of the EU, but Serbia is aspiring to become a member, and so that is the reason why Serbia signed that memorandum with European Union. But also last September, Serbia and the United States have signed together a strategic cooperation agreement in field of energy, meaning that Serbia and the US will work together on different topics in energy, and we believe that Serbia can be a strategic partner of United States when it comes to lithium. So not only of Serbia, but also of the US, because US is looking for partners, credible partners who are not related to China. So there is a great opportunity for Serbia to tie itself towards the West. And I have to just to mention that the EU currently imports 87% of its lithium from outside the bloc. So Jadar project in Serbia is a crucial potential asset for the EU. And EU Battery Alliance and Critical Raw Materials Act place lithium at the center of Europe's push for energy security. So Serbia as candidate for EU membership is basically becoming a strategic partner regarding lithium. And when we speak about the role of the United States, it is, I had numerous conversations with Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources and other US officials who see Serbia's lithium potential as part of a broader strategy to strengthen Western supply chains and counter China's dominance in the critical minerals sector.
Vuk, let me interfere with you just a second.
Yeah.
Is that the Secretary? You spoke with someone in the State Department. You said, is that the current administration or former administration?
Oh yeah, I have to mention that we still don't have the new appointees in that field. So I have spoken with previous Assistant Secretary of State Jeffrey Payat and others who deal with that matter, including previous Undersecretary Fernandez. But also I had discussions with the new administration, and they seem to continue to have the same approach. I also had discussions at the Department of Defense, and I got input that they are considering Serbian lithium project as very important for US national security interests in Europe, specifically when it comes to relations to China and Chinese influence in the Western Balkans region.
Okay,
And just
so
one thing, yeah, maybe just one important thing for understanding. So it's not the whole story about lithium is not just about lithium extraction in Serbia. So Serbia is looking to build a whole value chain in Serbia because we have Stellantis EV producer in Serbia, and they started producing electric vehicles. And also, we have a factory producing lithium batteries. So the idea is part of the Serbian lithium will be exported to the EU, but the idea is that the major part stays in Serbia, and that Serbia produces EVs, but also lithium batteries.
okay, so what is the Serbian reaction to recent developments? I'm sure everybody in Serbia is watching the news about the Ukrainian agreement on minerals with the United States and the Trump administration. So, what are you expecting that the Trump administration is suddenly going to start asking you for your a mineral agreement to gain access to your strategic minerals?
Uh, I think that might be possible to happen. Serbian administration is very pro-Trump oriented, and they're looking to deepen ties with the US. So I'm sure that if there is a potential to deepen US-Serbia ties through cooperation on lithium and signing some strategic agreement, I'm sure that Serbia would be willing to do so.
Okay. Well, that's so the prospects are pretty good then for watching all this. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the regional reaction in Eastern Europe to the Ukrainian agreement. Elena, what was the Ukrainian reaction? I mean, what as much as you can say, I know that everyone was kind of watching this event very closely, and President Zelensky is coming to the United States apparently next week to sign the agreement. So is everybody just breathing, exhaling here, and taking a deep breath after all this?
Yeah, actually, this is quite a controversial situation at the moment for all of us. We've been watching, like, holding our breath to everything that is happening, getting some new news coming every 5 minutes. But the situation is like nobody have seen the text of the final agreement at the moment. And actually, the drafts we had the possibility to see are only the drafts, and only the drafts of the MOU, not the agreement itself. So, but nobody at the moment understands the full details. And that's why we are watching the events to see what finally will come out of that agreement. So we are not politicians, as well as Vyacheslav mentioned. We are business entrepreneurs, we're business companies, so we can just watch. But we can expect, and we hope that, because the general idea that is there, so there may be some details, but the general idea about the investment fund for the Ukrainian renovation that would come out of the both investment of the United States in some form and financial, and Ukrainian investment as well, coming out of the development of the mineral resources projects, it sounds very healthy, and we support it. We would be happy to see that. We just don't know all the details at the moment, so we are waiting as everybody. But of course, inject the financial aid to start development of the mineral resource base of Ukraine we hope would definitely benefit both countries, both Ukraine, that will have the means to go into the reconstruction of the company, and the United States, they will have access to the critical raw materials like Vuk mentioned right now. The main idea of these materials is to reduce the dependence on China and Russia, because we all know that China holds like more than 80% of the global world critical raw materials. So the interest of the United States is there, and Ukraine is there.
I would say that I watched the President Trump's press conference last night, and he did comment and say a $350 billion agreement can buy a hell of a lot of arms. So it was very, very encouraging that he said that. We have someone, Yulia Klemiko, you've been very patient. You wanted to ask a question. And Mr. Landa, I see that you raised your hand, and we're going to start taking some questions here. So Yulia, you had a comment or question? Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, hello. Hello, colleagues.
Yes.
I am member of Parliament of Ukraine, so I can speak as a politician and share my view with the situation we have now with the critical minerals. Actually, I would like to underline that we are talking about the rare earth metals, we are talking about different things, but in general, there is a list of critical minerals needed to develop economy. And we have to take out, even if it's a rare earth metal, but not needed critically in the economy, it's not critical mineral. So on the territory of Ukraine, we have 20 out of 50 critical minerals known in the world. And I think in US, you have a list of these critical minerals for your development and for development of European, not only European, but China as well. As my colleague Olena told very rightly, that China is winning this competition at this point of time. And US and European Union and Ukraine far behind China. And I agree that we have to speed up this and to take our advantage. Ukraine is very much interested in US, European and other investments to particularly investments in the technology of extracting these critical minerals, because you can have on your land a lot of critical minerals, but if the extraction will be so expensive that you're not competitive to Africa or China, then these critical minerals are not helping you and your economy. So we have 20 out of 50. Our system, legislation system, is we are issuing licenses for each and every critical mineral, so to say, plot. And unfortunately, it's not an easy process to get it, first of all. And then on memorandum, actually, it's not a deal it will be signed tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I would say it's a memorandum of understanding between US and Ukraine. It will not pass as a memorandum of understanding. It will not pass through the parliament. So the government, Ukrainian government, will sign it probably, or Zelensky will sign it. Honestly, it should be Prime Minister, not Zelensky. Zelensky has no power to sign economic agreements. It's economic agreements. So I hope it will be signed. It's a first step, but the detailed agreements should be developed further, because there are a lot of devils in details. When you start talking about this agreement, real agreement, non-memorandum understanding, memorandum is okay. So Ukraine is actually putting 50% of minerals, state resources, including oil and gas and infrastructure. It's not only about the rare metals. Rare earth metals. It's about infrastructure, it's about oil and gas. And US is supposed to invest in this fund. It will be a mutual fund, and to invest in this fund for reconstruction, renovation, and development of these critical minerals or oil and gas and other infrastructure. So that's the whole idea behind this deal. So there is a memorandum of understanding, and then it will be more detailed agreement. Actually, we have, on my calculations, I'm not an expert as well, but 50% of the critical minerals, as well as oil and gas value, located on occupied or on the territories, on occupied Ukrainian territories or territories under the war. So
let me stop you just right there. You said that 50% of all the critical or rare earth.
It's include let's say oil, gas, infrastructure, and rare earth metals.
Okay, or in either combated, disputed areas or in occupied territories. Is that right?
It's occupied territories plus frontline, basically. Because if you are like Olena's company located in Zaporizhia, they are not far from the front line and reachable for artillery or any other means of destroying companies, I would say. It's also, I'm saying that this is very difficult to develop. So the best way for US and US and the UA will be to have enough weapon to push back Russia and put these minerals, critical oil and gas infrastructure into this fund and develop it. This will be much bigger amount than it is now. So my idea, we need enough weapon to buy to push back Russians and free these minerals to contribute into this fund. Because the major, for example, gas and oil fields near the Black Sea shore, and you can ask experts. Yes, we have a lot because we are neighbors with Romania, and Romania, you have Neptune Deep project, which is very successful, and we are very close. So on these shores, we have a lot of gas to contribute to US and the European Union. And the final point, in 2021, we signed a memorandum of understanding on critical minerals with the European Union. So, and it should be also reflected in our relations with the US, because it's already signed. It's signed in 2021. It's an open document, public document.
So the Europeans were late. They signed an agreement, but they didn't choose to develop it at all.
They signed not an agreement, but memorandum.
Okay.
But memorandum, it's memorandum in the intentions. But to put money, hundreds of millions of dollars or billions even, into the land, deep in the land, you have to have, first of all, technologies, access to technologies, and then a lot of cheap money. So I don't think that European Union ready to do it now, but still it's on the table. I just want to bring in this information to our audience, that we have this kind of memorandum with the European Union, and we have to consider it as well.
Okay.
So and that's it from my side. I'm happy to take from my political side. I'm happy to take questions if you will have it. But I'm trying to send you the presentation with the critical minerals. We have it from our ministry. If I will be successful, I will send you in this.
Oh,
chat.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing. And can you just briefly say which political party in Ukraine you're affiliated with?
I am from Holos Party. I am a deputy chair of the faction. So, and I'm an opposition, but I'm not an opposition to my country. So I'm happy to support any good investments, because I'm actually do believe that the European and American investments will protect us much more in a bigger scale than any other signed documents at Budapest memorandum. If your money will be in our land, we are on a safe side. Thank
you for sharing that point. I think National Security Advisor Waltz basically said that, and Bessent also in his interview on Sunday, he said that Ukrainians need to infer that there will be a security guarantee. It may not be in the agreement, but it is inferred that we will protect those deposits. So I think a lot of the discussions about the UN vote and other things have kind of missed what is going on with what the Trump administration has actually been saying and what the advisors have been saying. So
but for that, the message should be clear from the current administration and the US in general, because it's very mixed, honestly, on our land. And 50% of population not happy about these agreements. I can tell you, I have a lot of questions from voters who are saying that Zelensky is selling Ukraine. So it's just
so there was some domestic pressure on Zelensky over this agreement. It's not like he was just refusing to sign because he wanted a better deal. There's also some political opposition to this.
It's not only political, but it's a position from the people. So people do not accept, because the agreement is hidden. It's just released recently and 30 minutes ago, because there are people are thinking what they are thinking. They are how to say it? They are imagining more elephant instead of the mouse. So I think if we will manage to draft agreement, not memorandum, in a proper way, when we can get good investments from US, I think it will be very beneficial for Ukraine in many terms. But it cannot replace security guarantees, because I mean it's not only about the land.
I completely understand. I mean, there's certain, I would call PTSD syndrome inside Ukraine over the Budapest Memorandum being sold out by the United States. I certainly understand those sentiments.
Yes,
I need to stop here. We're running short on time. Volodymyr Landa, you had a question. Mr. Landa, you're from Ukraine.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, please
Volodymyr
identify
Landa,
who you are.
Volodymyr Landa, Center for Economic Strategy, Kiev, Ukraine. Let me just briefly note three key points. The first one is that both Ukraine and United States certainly economically interested in the agreement on mineral resources for Ukraine. Both the economic and security components are important, and a successful deal in this area can only be a long-term one. So the natural desire of parties to get the best possible conditions cannot put the other party at risk of not benefiting from this agreement. So each party should be interested in the agreement not only in the time of signing or while active hostilities are ongoing, but also in the long term. That's the first point. The second point about estimation of total natural resources of Ukraine. While being a deputy editor-in-chief in Forbes Ukraine, I estimated this at $15 trillion. It includes anything: occupied areas, government-controlled areas, critical and non-critical, which are processed, which are just in deposits. I agree with Yulia that about a half of these elements are under occupation. However, primarily that's about coal and iron ore, which are not considered as critical materials. However, most of rare earth materials, most of rare metals are situated on government-controlled area, on so-called Ukrainian shield, which gives higher percent of controlled minerals on controlled area. And the latest, the third point is that, as also Yulia mentioned, that media already shared the text of a bilateral agreement. Its name is Bilateral Agreement Establishing Terms and Conditions for a Reconstruction Investments Fund. That's a short, brief document consisting of 11 points. First point is to the intention to establish a reconstruction investment fund, and that's the main point. And all parties should do what they have without delay to create working groups chaired by authorized representatives. This document is to be signed by Scott Bessent from American side and Yulia Sviridenko from Ukraine. That's what I wanted briefly to say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. That's a very good overview, and I think everyone, if you check your if you check the chat menu, you'll be able to see that Yulia Klemenko has just shared a copy of the mineral agreement with everyone. I think that we're going to go ahead. We got a few minutes remaining. Does anybody have any questions? If you want to raise your hand, other than those who have already spoken, I'll try to call on you. Let's see. Okay. Oh yes, Elena, you'd raised your hand. Sorry to.
Yeah, I just wanted to make very brief comments. First of all, Yulia, we are not in Zaporizhia, luckily. Our deposit is in Kirovograd region, center of Ukraine, so we are lucky in this way to be able to develop what we have at the moment. Then secondly, I wanted to agree with Yulia from the part of the business society. We speak a lot between our partners and people who we know, and we also support the idea that, as you mentioned, the presence of American and European investments in our land will be much better guarantee than the paper of Budapest Memorandum. So that's one of the points of the deals, which is interesting to everyone. And also, I wanted to express our hope that the agreement will be not only on the development for the mineral resource base, not only on mining, but hopefully also on processing here inside of Ukraine, to the semi-products or to the final product. That would give us again, much more benefit for the further reconstruction and hopefully our partners access to more developed products.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Landa, I think you had a comment. Did you have a comment?
No comment. In basic terms, I agree with Olena and hope these also deposits which situated in Kirovohrad region. Some of them are not yet are just in deposits without any mines. Not only titanium but also different metals, and that's a big room for improvement for further geological actions.
And where was the area where there's some there are some existing deposits that of titanium? Am I right, Mr. Landa?
That's so-called Ukrainian shield. That's the geological part which comes from northern Ukraine up to southern Ukraine, mainly the half of Ukraine, most territory except western and eastern regions.
Yes, and can you just briefly explain what is the Ukrainian shield? That's like a mineral belt that goes stretches all across Ukraine from east to
so
west.
that minerals we are talking about, namely titanium, lithium, nickel, zirconium, mainly are situated on this shield, of which the most part is under government control in a relatively safe area, and a smaller part is under Russian occupation.
We have a question from Neville, Gabe Neville, who's asking how much of the 50% of resources in the conflict occupied zones are in the territories that have been occupied since 2014. Yulia,
let's talk about the territory, because it was like 6% of Ukrainian occupied territories from 2014 to 2021, and about 19% of occupied territories as for now, but the percentage of occupied natural resources is higher than this percentage and closer to 50%.
So
but if we talk about critical materials, it's a bit lower, hard to say exact figure, but I guess that's the figure about 25 to 35%.
Okay, so
and
Yulia,
also if we're talking sorry, if you are talking about oil, gas, infrastructure, railways, so it's up to I think 30% that was on occupied territories before 2022 invasion, full-scale invasion.
and now it's around 50%.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, I will send you a map. We have a map of this of minerals. I will send you, but it's not included gas, oil, and infrastructure, because you need infrastructure to transport. Logistics is very important. It's very how to say it. It's high cost in minerals, so it's also very important. If you have no roads and bridges, then it's very difficult to extract.
What are the Ukrainians on? Can either of you confirm whether the U.S. Geological Survey has actually done a survey of Ukrainian rare earth and critical minerals?
No, actually, what we have at this point of time in the Ministry of Ecology, who is responsible for minerals, it's a Soviet time geology, and that's why I'm very much concerned about these numbers in general. You have to do new geological survey on all territory. It's very expensive exercise, and because you need to not only to have a satellite, but also maybe Elena will take this question more because she knows more. But in general, it's a Soviet type data. I would not trust it 100%.
So just to answer your question, so there's no U.S. Geological Survey that has been conducted on Ukrainian territory?
No.
Okay. All right. Elena,
no.
Please comment.
Yeah, I can comment a little bit. I agree to some extent with Yulia, but I would say that Soviet Geological Survey was also not that bad, actually, from our own experience. So maybe not to trust 100%, but it could be quite confident. And I'm sure we talk a lot to the potential investors, and I believe that many of them would be ready to use the existing Ukrainian basics in geology, while the others would ask and would require to have the JORC code assessment of the resources. Sometimes it's not very difficult, I would say, operationally, the drilling campaign and the samples, but it will take some time. And of course, some capital to invest into that stage of the development. It will depend on each particular investor. Some investors are investing in Sierra Leone, for example, and are happy to be in Ukraine, saying that at least we won't be eaten here. So, but the other investors would prefer to have JORC compliant resource estimation and see every detail. So that will depend.
Let me intervene here. I just have a question I'm very puzzled. That it's my understanding that Russia depended on Ukrainian titanium that it would then turn around and sell to Boeing. So what is Russia now doing for titanium production? Because it's used to produce airplanes and Boeing aircraft. So
historically,
historically,
Soviet Union time, there were feedstock deposits in Ukraine and metal production in Russia and Kazakhstan when it used to be Soviet Union. So until the 2014 and before the full-scale war, Russia was sourcing and trying to source feedstock from Ukraine. When the war started in 2014 and later on, they had to source feedstock from other places which were not under the sanctions. For example, there was some scandal with Norwegians trying to sell the material. After that, they stopped totally. So they are sourcing from Vietnam, as far as I understand, from probably some Mozambique deposits, from some maybe India, not very legal deposits. So they're trying to find the material from the countries which are afraid of sanctions and from some minor suppliers, and trying to find like these ways for the supply of the material for their metal production.
Okay.
One more small comment, Glenn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, look, Glenn, we don't know exactly the numbers and amount, because some of the minerals, information on minerals classified in Ukraine. So that's why to have that's why we are talking only about the public knowledge, so to say. I think at least 5 critical minerals, or up to 10, the information is classified and you cannot get it, publicly. That's why we have to also to have this, so to say, deviation.
Yulia, let me interrupt you. Is part of the hesitation by Zelensky to actually sign the mineral agreement was everybody kind of scratching their head, well, how much do we really have? I mean, did they not even know the answer to that question?
I think honestly, I would say that nobody assessed the full picture of oil, gas, transportation, infrastructure, roads, what kind of critical minerals accessible and what kind of critical minerals not accessible, because there are different regions in Ukraine and different possibility to extract these minerals. So it should be very, very, I would not say deep, but in general, very professional research on this issue. I know Volodymyr Landa, he has actually done research, and maybe he can share his research. I know actually some numbers he on the world on nickel, on titanium, on cobalt, etc. He researched it, but he can research only a public part. If the information is classified, you cannot do it. So I don't think it should be I would say in the framework of a future memorandum of understanding, it should be very professional research of all these moments, including environmental, including possibilities or that some communities will not give permission to extract resources on their territories, because we're a very decentralized country. And if the community will say no, you will not do anything. They will just block your efforts. And it should be also, everything should be assessed. I didn't see any single assessment, professional assessment of these issues. Partly because it's classified.
Right. And so
I can And one more moment, that licenses was issued for many years from the newly independence of Ukraine. So I think that a lot of minerals already on the private licenses. It should be also considered.
Are they friends of Zelensky?
Glenn, I am opposition, but I
know,
will
but
not
I mean,
answer your question.
Are any of these people that have the licenses, are they friends of Zelensky? I think that's going to be a real big question, you know?
I
Or
would say that
Kolomoisky.
it's no. It's not a Zelensky or Kolomoisky invention. It was for 30 years. Yeah, it's for certain all political cycles was looking for the licenses for critical minerals. That's why we have to assess how many of these licenses were issued to the people close to the current political regime, I would say, for past 33 years.
Okay, thank you. Elena, did that confirm what you said?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Yulia, you've been a very appreciate you've been very helpful to the whole conversation. You've been a great ambassador for Ukraine rare earth discussion today, as well as Elena. So I don't see any other questions. Unfortunately, we're going to have to bring this wonderful discussion to an end. But I think the key thing here is that you've helped educate Americans, understand the importance of Ukrainian rare earth as well as Serbian rare earths. And Vuk, did you have any last comment or anything you want to say? Just I didn't want to exclude you from the conversation. It's been heavily Ukraine dominant.
Yeah, I understand that it's more Ukrainian focused. No, I just think that there is a great opportunity with Trump administration for us in Serbia to position Serbia as a credible and trusted partner when it comes to critical minerals in Europe. And the challenge that I see is how Serbia will position itself if US and EU drift, as we have seen, like the resolution on Ukraine a few days ago in United Nations. So Serbia, since the war in Ukraine started, has been voting in favor of Ukraine, and Serbia did again. But you know, we cannot abandon our European allies, but in the same time, we want to work closer with the US. So I think it would pose another geopolitical challenge for Serbia, not only how to balance East and West, but I think that Serbia is going west, but how to position in this new geopolitical context where US and EU might be going some different paths.
I would say that you're exactly right. We are new, uncharted territory geopolitically because this is a new element of U.S. saying, and I would say to my Ukrainian friends that the importance of this agreement is the United States the Trump administration has rationalized why there's a U.S. national strategic interest in Ukraine. And therefore, to many in the mega community that supported Trump, he can now go to that community and say, we can give Ukraine weapons because we have a national security interest in Ukraine and we're getting something from it. So, you know, I would encourage my Ukrainian colleagues to kind of look at it from that perspective domestically. But we're in new territory. Sadly, we have to go today, but this will be really useful discussion going forward. And we really miss Jim Carafano. We wish him a speedy health recovery and look forward to having everyone participate again. Glenn Howard, I'm president of Saratoga Foundation. We'll be posting this as well as Heritage on our YouTube channel and circulating it online. So thank you everyone for participating today. It's been a great pleasure, highly educational for me, and I'm sure a lot of Americans and those people outside in Europe will appreciate this discussion. So thank you everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.